Hey, yo, happy Friday. We are here, second to the last Friday of the month. And we got a lot of topics, a lot of football topics. It might be February, but we still got a lot of things that we need to discuss. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. I am not Cody Carpentier. Hold up. I am not Cody Carpentier. Let me go ahead and change this. Let me change his name. I just noticed this. By the way, and you may or may not notice, we don't have our producer is actually taking some time off this weekend. Much deserved time off. He's actually doing some cool stuff. So we ain't got no producer. So it's just bear with me if it's a little bit rough today. We'll get through it. But welcome back to the Old Fashioned Show. We're going to be talking, man, I got a lot of stuff to talk about. Oh, I told you I have a good story for you too, but I couldn't tell you yesterday. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to write down good story. I'm going to write that down. I got to make sure I tell y'all that. We're going to talk a little bit about Arch. We've also had some coaching things that are going on the 40 acres as well. We're going to do some buy or sell today. So I got a lot of things to do on a Friday. I got a lot of topics to cover. So let me go ahead and retweet this right quick, and then let's get into it because I'm excited, man. It's a fun Friday, as I call it, Fiesta Friday. I love this is my fun day. This is my relaxed day where we just kind of get to chill and enjoy ourselves. So good morning to everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. So one thing I noticed, and what the hell? What is going on? What is going on in the chat, by the way? Why is someone taking shots at Text Blonde? What does she do? What's going on in here? What's going on? What happened? And somebody said something about Diddy in the chat as well. What the hell's going on? And by the way, can one of y'all young people explain to me, why is it that sometimes when I'm on Instagram and I see a paid ad, all the comments are like, not today, Diddy? Can somebody explain that to me? I don't even know what that means. Anyway, I don't know if y'all saw this yesterday, but I am going to share this with you guys because it looks like Sark had they kind of finalized their staff stuff. And I want to make sure I put this on the screen here for y'all to see. I'll go ahead and enlarge this thing here. Let me take this thing off as well. All right. And I'll get you guys back on the screen in a second. Just give me a second. So they went ahead and can I make this bigger? Yeah, there we go. Is that better? There you go. That's better. They went ahead and gave us some staff updates yesterday. The most interesting thing from the staff updates, if you missed it, was that Terry Joseph essentially, even though he's still the defensive passing game coordinator and works in the secondary, he's actually now the safeties coach. And Mike Orfe, who they just hired out of Rutgers, is now the cornerbacks coach. So we were kind of all wondering like how that thing was going to work out. And it looks like that decision was actually finalized with Orfe being as the cornerbacks coach. And then you've got Joseph coaching the safeties. Again, they all have their areas of expertise. So I'm not too worried about that. Obviously, they announced Chad Scott officially, which we already knew the other day. Mr. Hudson is one of the Nichols coaches. You can have a bunch of guys as coaches now. I don't know how to say his name. Is it Kanoto? I'm going to assume it's Kanoto Hudson, but I'll have to learn it at some point. Alan Clark is one of the edge coaches as well. Mike Bamonte, co-passing game coordinator, which is a fascinating title, by the way, and assistant QB coach. So co-passing game coordinator, I'd be interested to see what those duties look like as a co-passing game coordinator. Wish that, wish I could ask Sark about that. We also go down there. The recent, you got Jamal Fenner, Director of Player Development and High School Relations. Aaron Joe, Director of Scouting. His father is a former high school coach in Florida. So there you have Aaron Joe. You got Josh Dutson. There's no shortage of jobs, man. Let me tell you. You're looking to do something in football, man. Like, there's no shortage of jobs in college football. We got senior player or personnel coordinator. We got Tanner Martin as a scouting coordinator. We got Jordan Mitchell as a recruiting/retention strategy. Like, recruiting/retention strategy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, props to all these people. Props to every single one of these folks on the list for getting a job that many of us didn't even know existed years ago. I'll be like, hey, man, I just got you. What's your job, man? I am the retention coordinator. I'm like, man, all right. That is, we used to be like, man, you're an assistant to the regional manager kind of thing. And then all of a sudden there's that. So anyway, that's why I've told my son, man, I'm like, man, I know you like the soccer thing, but when it's all said and done, you might want to think about coaching or something, because that's crazy. And Barb's said you're late to the party. That's okay, Barb's. I actually started on time, Barb's. How about that? No CP Friday today. Anyway, Friday's a different day for me, so y'all just bear with me. Okay, so before I get into Arch, I got a story I want to tell you. I was going to tell y'all this yesterday, but I wanted to wait until today, and I'm now going to tell you the story. This is a classic. So I'm not going to give up the name of the person that this happened to, and I won't give you any hints. I'm not going to tell you the names. Maybe one day y'all get me drunk, and I might give me a couple of drinks, and I might spill it one day. But okay, so this goes back to the running backs coach thing. This is a funny story. I promise you it's funny. So there's a guy who's a running backs coach who made it into the top 5. Okay. Made it into the top 5. And he knew he was high on the list. Now, he didn't necessarily know where he was on the list, but he knew that he was high on the list. Now, again, I find that he's in top 5, right? So anyway, my man is on the precipice of potentially having a life-altering event, okay? Because the life-altering event is, if you get an interview for the job, then you're going to have an opportunity to either get the job at Texas, or at worst, you're probably going to get a pay bump at where you're at, right? So my man is right there. I mean, he is close. And then my man did some that he should not have done. So this is what old boy does. He goes into his head coach's office, and he tells said head coach that guess what? Texas has offered me the job. And you know what? If you don't give me or match their salary, or you don't give me a raise or something, man, I'm out. I'm out within the next 24, 48 hours. Like, I'm good. I'm Gucci. Texas has offered me the job. Here's the problem, though. Texas hadn't offered him the job. They hadn't. And so what happens is the coach reaches out to UT. And they're like, hey, man, you about to hire my guy? They're like, he's on the list, but he's not. We didn't offer him anything. We haven't gotten to that stage. We haven't done the interview stuff. Really? No. We haven't gotten that far. Oh, okay. Good to know. And from that point, oh boy got removed as a candidate for the UT job. Now, I don't know where things stand with him and his current employer, but I got to imagine it's got to be a little bit uncomfortable. My man, all he had to do was just wait. But from the UT side, they're like, oh, this is how this guy moves. Oh, this is how this guy operates. This is what he's doing. He literally, I guess he just never thought that his coach would actually reach out onto this side and see if it was actually legit or real. He didn't know that. He didn't think that. And it happened. And he got removed as a candidate. So anyway, that's the story I wanted to tell you yesterday. But I wanted to make sure I put it in our little war room last night, which is kind of badass. I promise you, it was not the Nebraska coach. I actually heard good things about the Nebraska coach. So actually was not him. But anyway, all right. So there's a couple other things I want to talk to you guys about today. But it's not the Nebraska coach. Y'all keep going, but it's not Nebraska. But I don't like to lie. So I don't want you to keep guessing because eventually you're going to guess it. And then I want to feel bad because I'm going to dance around it. So Arch. I haven't talked a lot about Arch. It's kind of crazy. I've almost been kind of deliberately going out of my way not to discuss him for some odd reason. I guess I've kind of haven't wanted it to seem like I'm doing kind of clickbait stuff or anything like that. So I've been really in almost overcorrecting and not asking about Arch. Which, by the way, I thought it was kind of funny. What was it? Kay Adams asked something to Sark yesterday about Arch being the starter, and I was like, "What are we doing?" The interview was fantastic, but that was the only part where I looked at it. I was like, "Come on now, stop." But I've almost overcorrected, and so I honestly, it's crazy as this guys it may sound, y'all. Like I actually told myself I probably need to ask around about Arch this week. And I haven't. You guys watch the show pretty consistently. I don't really talk about him. And it's crazy, but I almost is like, I'm just don't want, it's a weird thing. I just don't want people to think, oh, you're just trying to get clicks. So you just want to do an Arch show, right? I could do one every damn day. But I've just never, I don't know. I just haven't gone that route. And I probably did more Quinn shows than anything else, right? And the Kay Adams interview was really good. It was really good. She did a really outstanding job with that as well. I didn't watch the Charles Omenihu interview yet, but I will check that one out probably maybe this weekend. Maybe I'll listen to it in the car and I go to San Antonio for the weekend. But anyway, y'all didn't ask about my personal life. So I decided to ask about Arch in a weird way. And I was like, well, how is he doing? Like, how is he doing? And how are the winter workouts going? And it was interesting because the thing that I was actually told was that there was an effort that was made very recently that the staff felt like they needed to push Arch a little bit more. And the thing that was communicated to me was they need to take him outside of his comfort zone. Now, relax, calm down, don't get crazy. The sky's not falling. But you do that's coaching, right? So that doesn't imply anything bad. Any of y'all who played sports, whether you are the star on the team or you're the lower level, every good coach will push you in order to get the most out of you, right? And so it doesn't mean he's bad or he was struggling or anything like that. But it just means that, hey, there was an effort made behind the scenes that said, you know what, we need to take this guy outside of his comfort zone a little bit. We need to shake things up. I mean, we know who he is, but you know what? We got to shake things up a little bit. Let's stretch him a little bit. And so that was the effort that they said, all right, you know what? Let's go ahead and stretch him. And let's push him outside of his comfort zone. Let's make the workouts a little bit harder. Let's get on his ass a little bit more. Let's just all of a sudden just wake up one day and create a little bit more chaos. Just to you know how coaches do. Y'all know how coaches do. And to everyone's, I won't say surprise, because surprise would be kind of extreme, but to everyone's satisfaction, that Arch answered the bell. Everything that they've thrown at him, you know, within these winter conditioning kind of practices, kind of thing, kind of weird things, how we describe it. Everything that was kind of thrown at him, he met and then eventually exceeded. And then again, it's more like a little drill, just to make sure, like, you know, wake you up, give you a love tap, that kind of stuff. And it felt like, you know what, he answered the bell and looked fantastic while he was doing it. The things that, you hear things about him being a leader, probably a little bit more of a vocal guy than Quinn was. You know, Quinn was never 100% comfortable in being a vocal guy. And that's not a knock on Quinn. Y'all know I'm a Quinn guy, right? But it's not a knock on him. It's just like, you know, my son it's interesting to a small lesser degree, all right? My son's a goalkeeper, right? And the one thing that a goalkeeper is supposed to do is that they have to talk. They have to be vocal. My son talks when he feels like it's necessary. He just doesn't talk. He doesn't waste words. And so he's not a huge talker. And it don't matter. I can tell you, I've talked to him, his coaches have talked to him, like different people have talked to him about it. And as much it's like you get a little bit out of him every once in a while. And then there's other times he's just like back to his normal self, right? So that's kind of, I think, when I saw Quinn, it made it relatable to me because I understood, like, not everybody just talks, right? So, but Arch is not like that. And I got a really good, I want to have a story, a column that I'm writing about Arch on Sunday. I got some really good information in there. Can't give you all of it here, but it's really good information as far as the amount of starts that the Manning camp believes one needs to have in order to for it to be more appealing to, like, the NFL. I can tell you, just as a teaser to it, nobody from that side that's associated with Manning, whether it's the coaches or the camp, no one necessarily is looking at this upcoming year as, like, you know, one and done, like one and get out. Like, everybody's looking at this as a 2-year project, which is exciting, by the way. Now, I say that. And, you know, anything can change. Like, we can talk about this in February and, like, let old boy go out there and throw for 4,500 yards, 40 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and lead Texas to a national championship, and everyone's the consensus number 1 overall pick. And then all bets are off at that point, you know? So don't look at it like, oh, that's, you know, no matter what happens, like, nah, anything can happen. Like, let's just be clear, right? But just there's a methodical process that is occurring behind the scenes as far as Arch's development. The methodical as far as, even, like I said, the challenging from this week to the long-term plan or anything to that effect. And it's funny because I asked someone as we were talking, and it's funny, I was told, it's really cool. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Put my phone up here so y'all can't be seeing who I'm talking to and stuff. Hold on. Someone said to me, Arch has started in 2 games, evaluating anything behind, excuse me. Let me try English one more time. Arch has started 2 games. Evaluating anything beyond Ohio State would be absolutely ridiculous at this point. I was like, damn. I hear you, sir. So, just know that, you know, you'll hear more and there'll be more of a I mean, hell, you're going to hear Arch all damn off season, so you don't have to worry about. But just know that even now, just from the winter conditioning standpoint, he's been doing fantastic. We haven't gotten to the point of like, okay, well, who are the receivers that he has the best connections? We haven't even gotten that far as far as any of those things are concerned. But also know that development is still with him, AJ Milwee, Sark still kind of taking place. And again, with Torrey Becton, the good thing about Torrey Becton is that Torrey Becton really don't give two blanks. And so Torrey Becton at some point, like him and his staff, they actually are incredibly, when I've heard things about them, incredibly methodical on how they go about it. And they know this person responds to, this chewing out. This person may respond to talking to. This person may respond to a bulletin board kind of thing. Like they all know, like, okay, these are the buttons to push. And they've all figured out the buttons to push as relates to Arch. So there's that. So just know good things about your starting quarterback are happening behind the scenes. And you should be really excited and pumped, as if you weren't already. We should be really excited and pumped about all of that. Speaking of quarterbacks, I think, well, I'll say that for the buy or sell portion of it. The one thing I just want to make sure I drop on you guys from a news notes kind of thing is that CJ Baxter, we're going to talk about running backs and stuff, but I want to make sure, like I did some checking in on some things, and this was kind of threw me off a little bit. I knew CJ Baxter was not going to be participating in spring football. I think I had reported that like a while ago, that's not going to happen, right? But another thing that I was told recently, as of yesterday, and I was like, all right, well, I get it. You got to make sure there, but just trying to get ready for the start of the season. And I was told that there's a chance that he may not be ready until the middle of this season. And so now everyone wants to be optimistic and hoping that maybe they can get him ready and have him ready to go for the beginning of the season, you get the game against Ohio State. But I also was told that it could be halfway through the year before we see CJ again. I was like, man, what I was told to me, I was like, man, you got to understand, this is like a devastating injury for him. So as we start looking at the Texas running back room, we'll have plenty of conversations and discussions as relates to that going forward. But as we start thinking about that, you almost have to approach this season, 2025. You almost got to approach it that anything you get out of CJ Baxter is going to be a bonus for you, but it can't be the thing you're going into the year expecting I'm expecting him to do this. If you get it, great. Congratulations. But right now, as he's recovering and they're not rushing to the recovery, this goes in on, when we start talking about the hire, and we start talking about Chad Scott, and we start talking about the thing that appealed to him from a Sark standpoint is being able to develop running backs. Well, he's going to have to develop some guys, because once you get past Trey Wisner, and again, Trey Wisner was able to do some really good things last year, but even he can go up to another level. I think he would tell you that. I've heard that there were games that last year that he was just not happy with his performance, as any competitor would be, right? So not to say that he lacks in any form, but any competitor who has a game that you just like, damn, I wish I could have done a little bit more. It's like that. I put these disclaimers out here just because I know people watch the show, and then it's like it's the telephone game, and so if I say something, then someone says something to someone, and someone else, and next thing you know, it's like Anwar said your kids sucked, and I'm rolling up on parents. I'm like, yo, that is totally not what I said. So that's why sometimes like you hear me putting disclaimers on there. Like I run into parents and things like that, and like, oh yeah, I've seen your show, blah blah blah, and then I had somebody say something to me that it was like it's like in January or something. And somebody said, like, I basically said, like, I had called them out. And I was like, no, actually, I actually didn't call you out. It was actually opposite of that. I was like, I would never. So anyway, I had to clean these things up, right? So anyway, that's why I always try to clean these things up just a little bit. So just know from like when it comes to CJ Baxter, I just don't know what to expect out of that. I don't know what to expect. I'm going to be cautiously optimistic, and I'm going to hope that he's ready for the beginning of the year. But I'm also going to know that this is just a possibility that we might not see him, and possibility that Texas is really going to be leaning on Trey Wisner. Got to see what you get coming from Christian Clark, but Jarrett Gibson, like the young guys who are in here. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting room this year. So those are a couple of things. Let's see. I wanted to mention the coaches. Wanted to make sure I mentioned the coaches. Wanted to make sure I mentioned Arch. I wanted to make sure I gave you just dropping just news dumping on you guys on a Friday. Just giving you different things. I think those are some of the main things I wanted to get into. I did kind of talk to some folks and. As relates to the Scott hire, and again, he's along the lines. I kind of thought this to be true, but he's kind of along the lines of of Kenny Baker and Chris Jackson, as far as a hire is concerned. And it's interesting because I received a text message yesterday. I mean, I always know, like, why is he looking down? I'm usually looking at my phone because it's usually going off. And I asked about. About why, about him being hired. And one of the things I was told was he was hired because of his offensive acumen. And I said, well, acumen's a huge word. And apparently someone had asked me, did they have a previous relationship, like Sark and his coaches and him? And I was told that there was no real previous relationship, but that Sark and company have kind of been a fan of him and the things he was able to do since he was out there in West Virginia. And they wanted somebody with really a deep understanding of the position. And that's one of the reasons why he was able to get it. Yes, the uncle's just dropping nuggets on you. I'm in a good mood. And so anyway, so Scott comes in as kind of a guy that they look at, okay, we need you to develop all the guys that are in this room because again, there's a lot of unproven commodities in here. And then Mark Anthony, when you ask, is Jonte Cook okay? Hey, listen, all I can tell you right now is if he's not in the news, that's a good thing. So I think Jonte's got some things that he's dealing with. Jonte's got some things that he's dealing with. And there are people around him who are trying to help, and families, mentors, things like that. Texas is not involved, but there are people who are trying to help. Hopefully it works. And the thing about help sometimes is, though, you got to want to receive it. And so, but it's out there, and hopefully he can receive it. And then, there's still plenty of time. This doesn't have to be the end for him. So hopefully that thing turns around. But thanks for asking. There's this a lot of unfortunate things associated there, but hopefully it turns around for the young man. Hopefully it turns around for him. Okay, let's do some fun stuff. It's Friday. You ain't got a job. You ain't got a place to be. Let's do buy or sell. Let's do the first one, buy or sell. And by the way, if you got buy or sell questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll answer all of them. I'll go off topic into your buy or sell, and it can be anything Texas related. It can be off topic related. You know, whatever it is that you just want to ask. You want to be funny and ask me a funny question because you think you're clever and you watched you went to a comedy show last week at Cap City. You just think to yourself you're funny. You can ask that, or you can just ask the Texas Longhorn question. You can do whatever you want. Buy or sell, though. Number one, you are convinced Texas will have a 1,000-yard rusher this season. I'll buy on it, but the only reason I'm going to buy on it is because Texas is going to play in so many damn games that you should be able to get at 1,000-yard rusher when it's all said and done. Like, you know, Trey Wisner rushed for 1,000 yards, but I think it took him like 15 games. And I also believe that if I looked at it, I think it was like 66 something yards per game, something to that effect. Like I feel like I wrote this just the other day. Let me see if I can find it. But if somebody else might be able to find it a little bit faster than me. But let me see. I think I have it. Just 1 second, because I oh my, come on, man. All right, here we go. Let me see. Yes. So Wisner, he did rush for over 1,000 yards in 15 games, but he averaged 67 yards per game. So yeah, you can do that. It may not be the sexiest way to pull it off, but it can be done. So I think Texas will have a 1,000-yard rusher, whether it's Wisner, whether it's maybe there's a competition at that position. Maybe Jarrett Gibson is ready to take the next step. I don't know. Maybe one of the young guys who are coming in and ready to take a next step. But can they do that? Absolutely. Yes. And then am I confirming another CFP run? Well, I sure as hell hope so. Because I don't want to be 9-3. Because that thing will be ugly. All right, buy or sell number 2. Arch Manning will live up to every Longhorn fan's expectations in 2025. Sell. You know why I say that? Because I think the expectations are so high. I don't know how anybody can live up to that. Like I just don't know how anybody could live up to what him expected to be, the earth, moon, and stars and all those kind of things. Like, it's tough. And so my thing is when I talk about Arch and I have the Arch conversations, right? The thing that I am concerned about, the things that I worry about is, are the expectations so high that the moment he throws 2 interceptions in the game, everybody's going to freak out. That's what worries me, right? That's the thing that worries me is that is it too high? So I think Arch is going to be phenomenal, but the expectations is basically 12-0 in the national championship, right? Or 11-1 in the national championship. That's hard. So I'm going to sell on that one for right now. But listen, I also saw that you guys had some buy or sells in here as well. So yeah, Christopher had one. He said buy or sell, Texas making it back to the semifinals. I'll do a soft buy on that one. Just because they've done it the last few years, I think Texas is good enough to navigate the SEC, navigate their schedule. I think they're good enough to get to the playoffs. I think they got a quarterback that can get there. I like the defense. So I feel good, even though I have a lot of question marks about the offense. But one of the buy or sells I had too, Chris, is that I think 9 wins is sometimes as likely as 11. So That's where I'm like, I'll buy, but it's actually going to be a soft buy as well. Barb's asked me buy or sell. A&M will have a spring game, and it will be over the top foolishness. Oh, that's a buy. I absolutely buy that. It will be something because A&M, that's exactly what they do. So 100% believe in that. Buy or sell, by the way, Texas number one receiver this season will be someone other than Ryan Wingo. Ooh. I'll buy. Because I'm still somewhat convinced that I believe Texas is going to go in the transfer portal once they get out of spring ball. And I'm convinced that they'll get someone out of the portal, and that person may end up being the number one receiver when it's all said and done. So that's my reasoning for it. If you just tell me that Sark, who's had portal success, is just not going to get any receivers out of the portal at all going into 2025, that would just be such a overcorrection where maybe it happens, but I need to see it to believe it. And until I absolutely see it, I am not going to believe it. Let me see. By the way, this is a question. Any rumors on Jaheim White from the running back from West Virginia? Have not heard that as of right now. So, and by the way, what receiver though, Ben? I mean, look,